Okay, so we're still talking about summertime. I kind of laughed when you said, "Is there much more we can do?" You'd be surprised. There's actually a ton we could do, but we'll bring it to an end here. Maybe we'll say that this lesson and the next lesson, getting us in August, will be the last two on summertime, and then we'll move on to something else. So that's a little heads up to maybe think about something else you might want to do, or if you're just going to leave it to me, you know I will always come up with something. So let's review the just the general idea of improvising. In order to improvise effectively, probably not only knowing what to play with the chords, but I want to reiterate you. In order to be an effective improviser, you have to know when the chords are going to change. You have to be able to anticipate that the chords are going to change. And that's why I kind of broke the song down into several sections, section 1, 2, and 3. And because you need to, like after section 1, you need to know when that section 2 is coming. And if you don't know that, then you have to listen to the song several times and be able to, as you're listening to the song, be able to tell yourself, okay, now it's coming up and they're going to change from that E minor B7, they're going to change to that A minor to C. And then you got to be able to say, and now I know they're going to change to that B7. And then they're going to go back to the first part again. So that's the kind of thing. If you're not able to do that, listen to the song some more and train yourself to know where those chord changes are coming. Hopefully you already know, which makes improvising a lot more easy because you're not always playing catch up to to the chord changes. You're kind of on top of things, and you know what's happening. So that's just an important concept on improvisation. I want to talk a little bit more about something we started last week. I was talking about playing a little blues thing up here in 8th position with the middle finger on the E, the first finger on the G, the ring finger on the A note there, and then bending that up. That kind of thing. I just want to talk about some techniques and some standard licks that are good to practice because not only can you incorporate them into your playing, but you can use it to practice different techniques. And practicing different techniques is a really good thing to do. It's kind of like being on an exercise program and not doing the same exercise over and over again, which after a while just doesn't even really benefit you. So the more different and varied things that you can practice, overall, the better your playing is going to be, and the better your technique is going to get. So let's go back and just look at these three notes again, that E, the G, and the A. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the G, and I'm going to play the G once, and I'm going to hammer down on the A, and then pull off back to the G. And then I'm doing a little vibrato there, you can see. That doesn't have to be, that's just sort of reflexive to me. But if you can incorporate that vibrato, do it. Now the thing I want to point out is you're playing the G note the one time, you're hammering down. Now when you hammer that down, you want to try to hit that with the tip of that finger. Think of your finger actually as a hammer that's hammering. Hear that? Into the fretboard. And then when you do the pull off, you want to actually, when you're doing the pull off, what you're doing is you're actually picking that string with that finger, like that. So you can even practice just the left hand. You can put that first finger down, and you can even just practice hammering down and pulling off. That's a technique that is used by guitar players, even sometimes many times in a row, like that. Okay? You can do just the one hammer-on pull-off by picking this note. That gives it a little more volume. Okay? Or you can play it the one time and then just hammer on and pull off several times. Some guitar players practice that a lot and they get to where they can do that really fast. I don't practice it that much. But in any case, then after you do that pull off, you can come back to this E note like this. Or you can do 2 or 3 pull-offs. But once again, keep in mind the proper technique is important. That hammer on, think of your finger as a hammer. Okay? That's the head of the hammer right there. You don't want to go sideways and kind of flap down on it. And when you're doing the pull-off, you don't want to just lift up. It's not a hammer on and a lift up. It's a hammer on and then you pull on the string. So you can incorporate that if you're just playing those notes. You got that E minor to B7 and you're deciding that you're going to use this blues up here. Okay, so you can incorporate that hammer on and that pull off. And I'm going to also repeat what we talked about when doing the bends. Remember, when you're doing that bend on that ring finger, we have all 3 fingers down. You can practice that like the way I just did it. Okay, so we have that bend, we have the hammer on and the pull off. Now, another common lick that's done in the using that upper position blues scale is to do that bend. I can't remember if we talked about this one last week. And then put the pinky up on the same fret, up on the 10th fret of the high E. So you do the bend, then you play that note that the pinky's on, which is D, and then you bring the bend back down. Okay? The important thing to remember is if you do that, you want to hold that up there. Okay? So I'm bending that note up with the 3 fingers, playing the D note here with my pinky, and I'm holding that up. And then I'm bringing it back down and going back down to the E. So we have E, G, A, bend, D, bring it back down, G, E. I'll play a few in a row. Hammer on, a few hammer-ons in a row. A good way to practice that and keep an idea of the tonality is to play that E minor chord. Listen to that E minor chord, the way it sounds, and then come up and play a lick. Okay, this way you can kind of keep that tonality, the sound that you're playing up against. So another lick that's pretty common is, so we have the E, the G, and the A, and I'm repeating the names of those notes because I'd like you to think about the actual names of those notes. E, G, A, we can do the bend, or we can go all the way up to the 12th fret. Okay, now the way I did that is I played the E, the G, the A, then I played the A again and slid. So I didn't actually pick that B. Pick that and slid. And then you can do it backwards. Pick the B and slide back. Slide up, pick and slide back. So you can see there's a lot of techniques there. Hammer on, pull off, sliding, bending. Those are all important techniques to guitar players. And they're used by every guitar player who plays rock and roll or blues out there. And they're all, for the most part, very often playing the same licks. So there's no reason you shouldn't play them too, right? Everybody's doing it. Slide up. And now what I'm going to play with my first finger is the D on the 10th fret of the high E string, and then play the high E on the 12th fret. So I play the E, G, A, slide, D, E. Now I'm just going to go backwards. I'm going to play the D, play the B and slide back, play the G and the E. E, G, A, slide, D, E, D, B, slide, G, E. I'll play a few of those in a row. So we have two techniques there really. Sliding up, which is different than sliding down. It feels different. It takes a different kind of finger strength, a different kind of motion in the wrist and in the hand. So it's good to practice both of those. And once again, it's good to just jam on that. Pretend you're just a blues guitar player out there playing a little warm-up intro in the key of E, and then just jam on those licks a little bit. Few bends, bend back down, little vibrato, hammer on, pull off, slide up, slide back, bend and pick the D. And when you do that, you can do that as many times as you want. You can do it once. The important thing to keep in mind, like I said, when you do that bend up, is to hold it. Pick that D, and then bring it back down. Or you can bend it up several times. Last but not least, let's talk about one more. So we're going to start with the E, slide up, play the D, play the E. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to play the E and just do a pull off. And then I'm going to play the B note, but I'm going to play the B note with my middle finger. Okay, see that? Instead of playing it with my ring finger, I'm going to hammer off, I'm going to pull off the E to the D. And if you're pulling off effectively, you'll really achieve a good volume, as opposed to just the lift up. Hear that? Hardly anything. Actually pick that string, and then I'm going to play that B note this time with my middle finger. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to keep the first finger in place. And the reason I'm doing that is very often what will happen is a guitar player will play that little figure several times in a row. And in order to achieve some speed, he uses the middle finger so he doesn't have to keep going back and forth with this ring finger. So the end result is pull off, B note, pull off, B note, pull off, B note. But if you want to string those together, so if you're going to string those together and try to get some speed, you can get a little bit better speed if you use the middle finger on that B note. If you're just going to do it one time and then slide back down, well, then use the ring finger. But if you want to do several, okay, so there's quite a few primarily left-hand techniques that you can practice. And keep in mind that all of that can be applied over the summertime section, section 1. So find yourself, I'm sure we have tons of sections and different recordings, just playing that E minor to B7. And then just practice those licks. Okay? See what you can do with that. And like I said, we'll finish it all up. We'll make it a wrap next week, next lesson, and we'll decide where to go from there. Let me know if you have any input on songs, or if you just want to continue with this improvising thing because you're having fun with it. It is a lot of fun, and it's good for your technique. So, but it's ultimately up to you. Or if you don't really have an opinion, I'll pick something. Okay, have a good one. Talk to you later.